So, did you survive Thanksgiving? Are you still in a turkey coma as I speak these words? Are there still turkey leftovers in the fridge? And how many thousands of turkey sandwiches do you now predict you will eat in the next week? Or how many turkey casserole recipes have you looked up online? Have you survived Black Friday? Small Business Saturday? Are you gearing up for tomorrow's Cyber Monday? Or perhaps you are one of those rarefied people that look forward and can't wait to Giving Tuesday. And may I remind you, you have 24 days till Christmas Day. These are our days to come. It is probably somewhat familiar territory for us with, the usual rapidly filling calendar of parties and shopping plans and preparations and expectations and the rhythm of life beating resoundingly of pleasant hours filled with beloved activities and in the company of loving family and friends. Or perhaps the days to come are not that pleasant or that light, but they're rather uncomfortably frightening and overwhelmingly dark. There are broken relationships that are more painful in the midst of all this holly-jolliness and loving family and loving friends. Maybe neither friends or family are all that loving. There's been that string of conversations with doctors about the next steps following that diagnosis or that prognosis involving a dying loved one or parent. Or knowing yourself that you are slowly losing your independence, your health, and the shadows and darkness of despair and heartbreak can barely be concealed under garlands and tinsel, and for that matter, decorations of red on a green Christmas tree. Darkness and light, familiar and unfamiliar, light and pleasant, soothing or frightening, or somewhere in between. These are the days to come. And loneliness, that darkest of emotions and feeling, which ironically often keeps the best company with those who wish it would truly leave, even in a crowded room. Wherever we are on our destination Christmas journey this year, we encounter this visual word picture of Isaiah just after he has shared a vision showing how short the people and the rulers of Judea have fallen in the eyes of God, and how God will remedy through destruction what cannot be healed through sacrifices or religious festivals. The previous chapter says Judah and Jerusalem are doomed, and their rulers bear the responsibility. But chapter 2 is after the darkness giving way to light. Judah and Jerusalem in the days to come. It will have days to come, and it will be lifted up. Nations, rather than condemning and conquering, will be drawn to Jerusalem to receive instructions from the temple of the Lord, of Jacob's God. God will judge the nations, arbitrate the disputes, refashion the weapons of death into the tools of abundance. War itself shall be a cast-off relic. Come now to Jerusalem and see. Probably the most familiar part of our reading today was just that, the part about the swords into plowshares and the spears into pruning hooks. And those words are actually engraved in a stone wall in a small park across from the United Nations headquarters in New York City. And I encourage you to Google it or look it up in whatever way form to see the wall that's commonly called the Isaiah Wall in the days to come. The ways of old will pass away, Isaiah tells us, and God will lead us to a recreation of this world. In the midst of darkness, there is still light, and that light is coming. Despair will be for a season, but it cannot and will not endure. We will not be left to our own destructive devices, our own weapons of destruction. The days are coming. Hope will arrive. Hope is something that no ruler or power or authority or political power or any power can overthrow and truly destroy. Only separation from hope can honestly compromise it, making hope seemingly to be just a wish or a fantasy of our own. And hope needs those connections to survive. It needs partners to accomplish its work. And like joy, it may not be seen and can be hard to find, but it will be seen. It can't help but be seen, and it will be found for those looking for it. Hope has the power to show up just when every other direction and solution has been discovered as blocked or as unusable. Hope sees weapons turned into cultivation tools. Hope sees potential where the world only sees failure. Hope sees peace where others find only violence. And hope keeps coming and coming and coming. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist, and whose experiences with the Nazis and death camps in Germany were later utilized into two books, Man's Search for Meaning, probably his most familiar, and The Unconscious God. Notice the role that hope played in the worst of situations. Survivors of the Nazi death camps tended to be the ones who refused to sink into the despair of the everyday life of such horrible places they found themselves in. Rather, those who were oriented toward the future, towards some goal in the future, towards a meaning to fulfill in the future, were likely to survive. Hope is what gives us life, even in the cruelest of situations. Those who have no hope tend to limit their futures. Hope will ask us to do something for what we cannot see nor hear. What is hope asking you to do? There are those that are living daily without seeing God moving, without seeing God transforming or reforming or recreating the world. What is hope asking you to do? There are those who claim to be doing God's work and God's plan, but they are only making more swords and more spears, cutting people even with their very words. What is hope asking you to do? There are those who would like to be included, to find unity in spite of differences. What is hope asking you to do? God needs room in our lives in order to accomplish God's plan and mission. What is hope asking you to do? Hope sees plows and pruning hooks, not a future for swords or spears. What instruments are you including and making in your life? Are they swords and spears? Or are they plows and pruning hooks? Hope will not tolerate nor rest with the status quo, but will confront it and cause trouble as it accomplishes its agenda, which is often not the world's agenda. From joy, there must be and always is hope. From hope, there is always a new day, and indeed, there are many days to come. There are still swords to be remade, and there are still spears to be reformed. But there needs to be room for hope to work, for joy to be received and embraced. Will joy this season find a place to live within you? Will hope keep you seeking God's instructions, climbing up the hill as described so beautifully by Isaiah, to receive the instructions of God from Mount Zion? Are you preparing your swords and your spears? Or are you willing to let them become plows and pruning hooks? The days are coming. How will you prepare for them? Amen. Hopeful people are usually troublemakers in this world. They're the ones who refuse to accept what is will always be. Just 500 years ago, absolute monarchies were unquestioned as the way God had ordered